That's kind of, what are your thoughts of the convention so far?
Well, you know, they were calling this the unconventional convention, and it's been the unconventional campaign, so it is certainly living up to its reputation. But this is what I think, though. Patrick, I think we have a front row seat to the process. We have the front row seat to the election of a possible president of the United States. So I'm feeling really good. Regardless of who you're voting for or who you're for or against, it's still always great to be able to see the process in action. And we are seeing democracy in action. So I'm feeling very good about that.
Well, I had covered a couple, but not as many as they have covered.
So let me just ask, from the ground perspective, what's different about this year's convention? We've heard so much about how this is a different, sort of campaign. It's certainly a different primary. What's different about the convention this year?
Well, Donald Trump, that's for sure. He makes it very exciting for us. Different about this convention? I don't know. What do you think?
I think is the animosity is how different and how divided the party is.
Yeah, the protesting, and then you just the.
Well, you have more of a division and more of a fight inside the venue than outside. Usually, the booze and all these feelings and people fighting, it's outside, but now we saw it here in the floor, and I think that is really what it changes the tone, because then you have senators and representatives for different states telling the party we don't want this, and shame, and screaming things. That's really what I think makes this different, and even more than the Democrats, because we have a different tone, and it has been since the beginning, especially because of Donald Trump. Everything, even his entrance yesterday, it looked like a Hollywood show. And that definitely makes this particularly different to the United States. And then it gets the attention of the world.
So what has kind of been the world reaction to this?
Well, we work for Latin America, and they are very excited. We haven't seen as much engagement in politics since Donald Trump, because he's more than a politician. He is actually not a politician. He's a reality TV star. He's a celebrity. So they are always kind of like trying to find out what's the next chapter of a big soap opera. Is it going to end up in the White House or not? And that's kind of what they all the time are thinking about it is. And they asked us so many times is, well, he said this about the wall. We have a big audience in Mexico, and they're very concerned about a lot of things that they have said, but also they have engaged some of their representatives. Vicente Fox said awful things about him and then apologized. So it creates a whole discourse that we see throughout the region, from Argentina to Mexico.
So it's the sort of thing where it's kind of being viewed on like one hand a little bit trepidatious, but on the other hand, it's like a telenovela.
Yeah, I would say it is. I mean, this thing, like last night with Melania's speech or something, that's big in the news with our affiliates today. We do a lot of affiliate hits in the morning, and that's something that's really, they want to hear, what the truth behind it is, and, what's going to happen now.
I have to ask, in 2012, after the 2012 election, the RNC came out with the autopsy, where they said they need to have more engagement, specifically with the Latino community. Kind of seems like they've decided to ignore that in 2016. Is the Latino community feeling that?
Oh, they do. Definitely. We were talking to delegates from Texas, which actually were involved during the election with George W. Bush and Mitt Romney. That was the time where they actually created a whole group of people to finally establish offices that will handle Latinos. That doesn't happen anymore. And they even said, we don't think that he thinks the Latino vote is important. They might go for the Anglo vote and try to get a historic number, as he usually says he will do. And they haven't really included. The other thing they mention is they don't understand Latinos, that we are not just one kind, that we are very different. And in the past, they were focusing on the Cuban American vote, which they lost with Romney. And then we saw now that they need to get the Mexicans. But then it started pretty bad with the first remarks that he made. 70% of the population of Latinos in the United States are actually Mexican voters, or Mexican Americans. So then it's very hard to bring back the trust from that community. So I don't think for the campaign the Latino vote is a priority.
Is this sort of thing where, and this is speculating, so I apologize if this is unfair, but is this the sort of thing where, like, in 1964, you saw a big break where African-American voters who were traditionally Republican all of a sudden started voting Democrat, and they've never gone back? Is there the possibility that this is one of those watershed moments for the party here in 2016?
I think so. They're definitely going through a shift, not just with the Latinos. It is a very raucous, if you call it in some way. We will see a different party after this election. It is impossible to see a unity even after picking Mike Pence when you don't have the Bushes here, when it's tradition. It's like not having the Clintons in the Democratic Convention, even though we know in this case in particular, she is nominated.
She's going to be there.
Yes, but and even if they were not there, not having John McCain, I mean, John McCain is a flag of the party, but he was attacked, and that's one of the things that we don't understand. So that's what I think is going to happen. And with Latinos, they lost a lot of ground with Donald Trump, so I don't know if that's going to be able to be changed.
What are you guys looking at as you cover this convention?
Exactly for what you are looking for. Because in Israel, every American news is an Israeli story.
Right.
I think Tal is our anchor woman, so she can testify for that. Israel sees itself as United States' 51st state. And therefore, each and every news story, major news story here in America is a major story for us also, especially if it's a crazy story like this election this time.
I was about to say, one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about here is kind of explaining Donald Trump and what's behind this. Is that a big thing in Israel that people are interested in?
Yeah, is an unexpected character. So you don't really know what to accept. Our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is the one who's most known as a supporter of the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really supporting of Mitt Romney in the last elections. And now having Donald Trump was supposed to visit Israel in last December, and then he said all the things he said about the Muslims, the Muslims immigrant, and it became a problem for him to visit in Israel because it becomes a problem to the Prime Minister of Israel dealing with everything he said about the Muslims. So they canceled the visit.
So Donald Trump has actually kind of gotten in trouble with some things about Israel and also about Jews here in America. He had the tweet with the six-sided star. He also said in one of the debates he would be neutral when it came to Israel and Palestine. What kind of reaction is those sort of things getting in Israel?
We report everything, but we need to remember his speech in AIPAC in front of a huge Jewish gathering and his real commitment to stand by the state of Israel. And he said things that no other candidate ever said regarding the settlements, regarding Jerusalem. This is the first time that the platform of the Republican Party will declare that undivided Jerusalem is the eternal capital of the state of Israel.
This is against the agreement with Iran.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. So he's saying these kind of things and other things. So with Donald Trump, you can really don't know.
I have one more question, and this is just more for my interest than anything else. There's been a lot, for a long time, support of Israel was the one bipartisan issue in Washington everyone agreed with. And with Benjamin Netanyahu, when he spoke in front of Congress, a lot of Democrats kind of viewed that as a slight. And there's been some articles here about concern that maybe this is becoming a partisan issue. Is there concern about that in Israel, or is that just sort of like we're reading in the tea leaves that maybe aren't there?
Israel, for many years, the number one asset was the fact there is a bipartisan support from both parties in the state of Israel, and we see a problem with that issue in the recent 8 years of Obama and Netanyahu together. Both of them are two different extremes, and therefore they do not work well together, even though they are trying to level the surface. But at the end of the day, the person-to-person relationship is very, very bad.